This is Professor Gillis. Welcome to Torts. We're going to learn the skill of preparing for class. How do you take notes when you're reading? How do you brief cases? First, let's think why you take notes as you prepare. First, it keeps you awake. Secondly, your notes should help you answer the professor's questions in class. Thirdly, by the end of the semester, you will have read thousands of pages. You can't reread them all, so going back and looking at the notes you took as you prepared will help you create a course summary or an outline. How do you prepare and take notes? Here's the key. First, you have to skim the material, work out what you need to focus on, and only after you've skimmed the material should you go back and take notes. Skim first, notes second time through. How long should it take you to prepare a case? You'll get faster at this as you go, but generally you shouldn't spend more than an hour on a case. At that point, you're likely not being productive. Typical assignments in the casebook will consist of introductory text, then a case or cases, and then some notes. Here's the key. First, you want to focus on the introductory text. Be a detective. Look at the introductory text, skim it. It's going to tell you why the cases are being assigned, what the authors want you to focus on. Do they list the problem the case is going to deal with? Does the introductory text summarize the black letter law? Skim this introductory text and then write down your best guess about what the case is about. So write down your best guess based on the introductory text about what the case is going to be about. You can come back and take more notes about the introductory text later. At this point, you're skimming it to try to work out what the case is going to be about. Next, go to the notes. Before you've read the case, go to the notes. Again, you're being a detective. Skim the notes. What are the notes telling you the case is going to be about? I think there's typically 6 types of notes, so some or all of them will be present in any assignment. Some will give you background information about the case, historical details. These can be useful but not vital. Some notes are going to give you information about process. Did the case go to trial? Was it thrown out on a defense motion? Again, good information to have, but not vital. Look at type 3 and 4. Some of the notes are going to tell you what legal rule or rules in the case the authors want you to learn. This will help you focus on what you should be looking for when you read the case. Type 4. Some notes are going to give you new related rules or exceptions. Again, this is something you want to focus on in the notes. Type 5. Some notes are there to give you hypotheticals or other cases, so you can practice thinking how the rule applies. And then some notes may give you the policy, the reason why the courts think this is a good rule. So what are you going to do? Skim the notes. And now, what is your best guess about what the case is about? What rule is it going to teach you? What policy was behind the case? Just write down your best guess about the case. Now you're ready to tackle the case itself. Let's play detective and try and brief the Vosburgh case. First, look at the heading on page 613. Pause and do it now. What is this case going to be about? Guess. Intent. The heading says intent, so this case is going to be about the intent required for battery. Now skim the introductory text on page 613 to 614. Pay attention to the first paragraph. What problems does the introduction tell you the courts face when analyzing intent? Which of these 2 problems is discussed in the case, and which is set out in the introductory text? List these 2 issues. So look at page 613 to 614 and focus on the first paragraph. Do it now. Do you see that in the introductory paragraph, the introductory text tells you that courts face two issues? The first issue is what the law requires an actor to intend, and the second issue is how you prove intent. The text in paragraph 1 tells you that the case will focus on what the law requires an actor to intend, and the discussion about how to prove a case is set out in the introductory text below. So now we know this case is going to be about intent and about what the law requires the actor to intend. Now go ahead and skim the assigned notes, 619 to 620. What type of notes are these? What are they telling us the case is going to be about? Just guess and write the type in the margin. Pause this video and do it now. Here's my best guess. Note number 1 is about the background to the case, or the process by which the case arrived at this court. Notes 2 and 3 seem to be about the rule, and they ask us to compare the rule in this case with that in other cases. So notes 2 and 3 seem to be about the rule. Note 4 tells us it's about the eggshell skull rule, so there may be a second rule at work in this case. At this point, we can guess what the case is going to be about. It seems to be about two boys kicking each other, and it seems to be about whether they have the requisite intent when they're just joking around. Now we're ready to actually read the case. Let's skim the case with your case brief form in hand. Mark in the margin what you think each paragraph of the case is about so you can come back. So we're skimming and simply marking. Is this a paragraph about facts? Is it about process? Is it about rule? Don't forget to notice the headings. This case has 3 headings. That may well indicate that the court is going on to a different issue with each heading. What are those issues? So pause now, skim the case, and tell yourself what each paragraph seems to be about. Good. Now we're ready to read in depth. As you read in depth, fill in the easy stuff. For instance, the title of the case, the name of the court, the date, the page in their book. Who's the plaintiff? Who's the defendant? What claim is the plaintiff making? Battery, assault, negligence? You should also be able to summarize what the procedural history of the case is. What happened in the lawsuit so far? This is a little complicated in this case, but one of the notes actually helps you. Now write down a couple of sentences about the key facts that are required to make the decision. Remember, try to keep this short. Now we're ready to try and do the tough bit of the case brief. How many issues are there? Here's a hint. Did you notice the opinion is divided into Section 1, Section 2, Section 3? That's a hint to you that there are actually 3 issues in this case. Now remember, when you're briefing a case with multiple issues, you want to separate them out. Issue, holding, analysis, conclusion on issue 1, then do the same thing for issue 2 and for issue 3. Here's an example. You should work out that the first issue in the Vosberg case is whether the defendant acted with the intent necessary for battery when he didn't intend to harm. So your first issue statement should be a question like this. What's the court's role on issue 1? Then how does the court think the facts of this case come out when you apply the rule? And what's their conclusion? That's your IRAC, Issue Rule Analysis Conclusion, on the first issue. Now, can you find issue number 2? Can you find issue number 3? Try and brief them. We'll go over them in class. At this point, remember you may want to take a few notes on the introductory text. Write down a couple of sentences about the proof problems that the introductory text tells you about. Now you're going to go back and look at those 4 notes. Sometimes you'll take a really brief note, just 1 sentence, but others ask you detailed questions and you need to take more detailed notes. Ask yourself what each note is teaching you about the topic you're studying, battery, and particularly intent. I hope this helped you brief the case. In class, we're going to go over your brief and over the law that the Vosburgh case is trying to teach you. I'll see you in class.